Hello, welcome to the Trophy Trust, your weekly podcast for PlayStation Trophy Hunters. I'm one of your hosts, The Dazil, and joining me this evening, we have the Vectronic
Hello.
and we have Mako.
Hello.
Good evening, guys. It's good to be back. Actually, I've been away for the last two episodes. I'm sure you've all been coping just fine.
Yes. Yes, we
Yeah,
have.
that's
That
what
wasn't
we're gonna say.
that wasn't a very
That's
confident
all.
response. Okay. All right, then moving on very swiftly. Then, okay. So, of course, first things first. What have we been playing recently? And I tell you what, why don't you go first, Mako? Tell us what you've been up to.
I've been playing Demon Souls.
Oh, okay, a classic.
Yeah,
You
get the
finally
platinum
did it.
twice. Yes, twice.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, get the item drops from totally crushed in here somewhere. I don't know where he is. He's somewhere. Yeah.
So you've
He's-
been having the Discord community at your disposal for helping you get your platinum on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So
You finally. Oh, sorry.
no, go on, Karen.
You were about to say. You actually did NA and EU. Are you gonna do the Japanese stack?
Maybe. I don't know yet. Depends on if I can find it. That will somewhere find it and get it before the server shut down.
Oh,
And
okay.
remind me, how much time have you got before the servers shut down?
February 28th. So
Oh, not
just over
too
a
long.
month.
Not too long away. And but once it's gone, and that's it. The no more help with the community
Yep. And then
Mhm.
you get to suffer.
by
Alone.
yourself. Yeah, yeah. We discussed this before, but yeah, I see this is why there's such a big push to get a lot of help online through different communities and such. Anyway, anything else you've been playing, Mako, or has you just been spending all your time grinding away on the Souls game?
Now I've also played Danganronpa V3, but I'll talk
Okay.
more about that later.
Okay, fair enough then. All right then, if that's all you've done, let's move on. Vec, how about you? What have you been up to?
Okay. I've been playing a small indie. Nah, not small indie. I've been playing a game called Fist of the North Star: Ken's Rage. So this is a basically a combination of Fist of the North Star, the manga series, with a Warriors type of gameplay. So it's basically like not an open world, it's like linear brawler, but you mostly go around in a huge battlefield, just taking over different areas, and it's
Okay,
quite fun. It follows the story quite literally of the manga, and it explains a bunch of each character. And so far, I finally completed the campaign last night. Uh, and I gotta say, it's amazing. It's a really good story. Uh, it basically it's a basically the story is like a post-apocalyptic um nearby future where everything is desolated, all everything is dried up, and humanity still lives on, and it's just burly men fighting with techniques, trying to survive the longest, and it's just mwah, beautiful. And
what
I enjoyed
what platform is this on? Sorry.
PS3. This
Okay.
is a last console, but the sequel, Ken's Rage 3, is coming onto the PS4 sometime this year and next year. It's but it's made by the developers of Yakuza. Last time I checked,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's very good. You actually take signs out of people and just whack them, and they explode by contact. And you just press like your fingers onto the people's bodies, and they just explode. It's just fun. It's just like anime fun, and I needed that during this week. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some. I've heard of it vaguely, but I've never really looked into it because it's not really my kind of thing. It's not really on my radar. But yeah, looking at some images there, it's kind of like I can describe it as so Street Fighter meets Fallout is how I would describe it in the
Yep.
style. Yeah,
And
interesting.
Yeah, and if anyone doesn't know about the anime, you might have heard this meme is like, but you're already dead. It's
Y-
like the tagline in the game.
Yeah, that isn't that. Yeah, it's a lot of. I sometimes watch like meme compilations on YouTube when I'm just like in my downtime, just I've got nothing else to do, and yeah, often it comes up. It is a meme. I can't remember the. Oh, it's a Japanese saying, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like it's in Japanese, isn't it?
yeah, it's in Japanese, but the translation turns out to be like as kind of broken English. So it says like, you're already dead when it's supposed to say something along those lines. But yeah, you're at the
Oh, like,
you
yeah, I
are
got it. It's I'm gonna butcher it, but it's Omiwamo Shinderu.
how Omaru Shinderu, and
Yeah.
and they say it in the actual game, and it follows each technique as close as possible, so you can actually see the executing each one at the same time. To
Mm.
You can see them like um, using their fingers, they just touch your head with both fingers on each side of the skull with each pressure point, and then immediately after they release, after 3 seconds, the head explodes and they kill the actual person. So
Mm.
fun.
So anyway, going for platinum on it. Easy? Is it an easy
Yeah,
one? Have you looked it up?
yeah, it's an easy one. It's just normally just beat the whole campaign, which got me to around like halfway through. Afterwards, you beat smaller campaigns, which is just using each side character, which is not a lot. It's like 2 to 5 episodes each, and then you go to like a dream type area, and then the rest is just miscellaneous trophies. Like, oh, you have to kill like certain techniques, at the multiple enemies with certain techniques, and that's about it.
Hmm. All right then. So up to anything else, or has that just been putting all your time into that?
Yeah, I haven't played much. I just spend my time. It's like a 50-hour platinum, but it's just I just managed to just play through it and plow like the story all together. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's all I've been playing.
Okie dokie. And then I guess it's down to me now. I'm going to try and keep this short as possible, but for the last 2 weeks, if not more, I honestly don't know the exact time because I've been spending almost every day playing it, but I have been playing Assassin's Creed Origins. And cast
Oh.
your mind back far, far previous episodes where I said, oh, I've never played an Assassin's Creed game before. I don't think I will. They're not really on my radar. I'm sure they're good games. But I took a plunge on this one, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's fantastic. It's, as I said, my first Assassin's Creed game, and I just love this. I know the previous games are not so much open world sort of RPG uh,
Mm-hmm.
systems, but I'm really liking it, and I've put over 50 hours into it now, and I am nowhere near done. I've managed to do half the map, and when I mean do half the map, I mean not just defog it and reveal the map, but actually do all the side missions, all the question marks, all the
Wow.
locations. So yeah, almost straight down the middle. I've been mainly focused on areas, but now where I've put a lot of um, time into doing the side missions outside of the main story, I'm like ridiculously OP compared to like what the requirements of the main story. So when I do roll round to a main story mission, I just
Mm-hmm.
just you know ease through it
Send it.
because I'm now level, as of this afternoon, I'm like level 40 and a half, and the main story missions are like still around the mid 20s in requirement, so they're really easy. And yeah, I've got all legendary gear now. I've just leveled up my skill tree. It's just really fun. I'm just really liking it. And yeah, I don't really want to like ramble on about it, but I'm glad I took the plunge and took a punt on it because it's great. It is
Mm-hmm.
really great. It's solid. I obviously didn't have franchise fatigue from it because, again, like I said, first one I've played. I know they were pushing them out every year, but you can definitely tell that this has had a lot of work put into it. Just all the little systems, the combat, the world to begin with is absolutely, it's mind blowing how big it is as well. And also, I'm playing on PS4 Pro with a 4K TV, and it
Okay.
looks absolutely fantastic with like HDR as well. Like the sunsets and the sunrise, and just the way the water looks as well. When you get on a boat and go out on the water, or when you're swimming, just the way the light passes through the waves and the ripples in the water is just stunning. I can't believe like a third-party game, multi-platform game, looks this good on a console that's like basically a non-exclusive game running on a console and looking this good. So I'd I'd recommend it. I'd honestly recommend the game. I mean, I don't just mean like from a graphics point of view, but just from a gameplay point of view. It's really satisfying leveling up and finding better weapons all the time. And then when you just a bit like Destiny, for example, or any other game of that type, where you find a better weapon, then you can either sell your previous weapon or break it into parts for crafting. Because the crafting is really good as well. Break it down into materials so you can upgrade like your hidden blade or your gauntlets for stabilizing your bow and arrow, or your other gauntlet which adds to melee damage, etc., etc. So there's loads of like RPG style systems to it, and yeah, it's awesome. I really like it, so I definitely recommend it. I know a few people have maybe burnt out on Assassin's Creed and may want to like miss this one, or but definitely give it a go. It's so good. And the story is okay. It's fine. It's basically just like a revenge story, not to go any deeper than that. But the main character, Bayek, he's a really likable character. I really like him. He's like he's not like cold or anything. He's like really human, and you encounter characters in side missions, and he's very serious. He's very duty bound, but he laughs and has a joke as well. So he's just a really likable character, and which is nice. I don't really have any previous experience with prior games of this series, so can't really draw too many comparisons. But I definitely will be continuing with these games if the games are like this going forward now. Maybe not every year. I hope not every year. It'd be nice to have one of these games every other year, because I think one of these a year would just be too much. I don't think I could do like a big open world Assassin's Creed like this, of this sort of RPG style, every year. I think by the time everything's said and done and platinumed, and yes, I am going for platinum, it's going to be like, it'll be under 100 hours, but I'm thinking I'm going to be landing around maybe 70 to 80 hours, possibly, because I am doing everything on the map, even though it may not be trophy requirement. I just want to clear the map completely, just to say I've done it all, done the whole game.
My question to you is, how do you feel about the main character compared to the other main characters of other Assassin's Creed titles?
Well, that's what I said. I can't make that comparison. I haven't played any of the other previous games.
Oh, okay. So I suggest at least playing the Ezio trilogy.
Saying that though, someone has suggested it's backwards. To be honest, I don't want to go to games that don't have these systems in it. I'm sure they're good. To be honest, I was thinking of going on YouTube and finding surely someone's made a recap video where it just recaps all the story, because I don't really know too much about the story. I know the basics of it, about like the Abstergo and Animus and the like this precursor civilization that like created mankind. I get that, but I'm not really that interested in it. I just like the gameplay. It kind of like reminds me of like Metal Gear Solid 5 in the aspect of like, not that this is light on story, but like where it's a game where I don't really care about the story because the gameplay is just so satisfying. So I'm not really too invested in the larger lore of it, but I'll catch up with it at some point. It's not really crucial to my enjoyment of the game, because going in as a newbie to this series hasn't affected my enjoyment of the game. I'm loving it. It's awesome. So yeah, that's all I've been playing. I have dabbled in a few other things, but I'm not really going to go into it until I've done it. Just a few things on like remote play on Vita, but nothing worth mentioning at the moment. So I guess we shall move on then. So let's do some news, shall we, Vec?
Yep. So our first big major news of the day is we got a God of War trailer, and now we got the best date ever they could actually promote this, 4/20, April 20th. I was just cheeky about it. I was like, I did not expect the actual date to be 4/20, and then when I realized, oh my god, these guys are amazing. but per se, I'm looking forward to this one. I think
But just to
this
say that 420 joke doesn't really work for someone like me who lives in the UK, where our date format doesn't fall into that kind of kind of joke. But
Well, then you're
I
wrong.
appreciate I appreciate the reference.
yeah, it's for you. It's like 24.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Hey,
Well,
24 hours of the day.
Okay.
Maybe,
Anyway,
maybe.
I digress. Anyway,
Um, let me see. But for yeah, I personally like this trailer. For example, it actually cements like some of the doubts that I was having. For example, I did not expect Kratos to be so calm in this trailer.
hmm.
Like him being selfless now, like actually caring about someone. Unlike the other games, the last God of War game, not Ascension 3. In 3, they actually show a sympathetic side of Kratos, but it's shortly lived. So I'm actually excited to see how they do it in this one.
Well,
So
I guess all them years he's like preoccupied with like getting his revenge and finally taking down Zeus. And I guess after the third one, God of War 3, it's finally over. I guess now his rage has subsided. I guess we can finally see what kind of person he is underneath it all. At least they're trying to develop him as a human. And I'm really excited for this game. I'm a big God of War fan. I really love those games, and I'm actually glad that they're changing up the style of the game now. It is refreshing, and I really like this new, this sort of more tighter. It's always been cinematic, so I'm not going to say, oh, this is now more cinematic. So it's always been like really grand and epic. But yeah, people make the comparison to like Last of Us, and I get the idea of that, the third person, the kind of more human story of it. Fair enough, but yeah, I was even tempted to pre-order this game, and I don't really do pre-orders. I just buy it when I'm interested, but I'm definitely getting it day one for sure. If I don't pre-order it, I'm definitely just going into a shop and getting it on day one because absolutely, this game is going to be incredible.
yeah, I'll just be excited to see what's gonna happen because that's gonna be interesting to see what they reference they actually question the nature of Kratos and all of the of why is he actually doing there and it's just mm. Oh, and also someone pointed out that Kratos looks at his bandages
Yes.
from the chains of chaos. I
Hmm.
gotta say that was a cool detail to see in the trailer. So yeah, always. Yep, like looking at the chains, like the bandages. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I wonder if
So
It looks like the bandage was starting to fall off. So obviously, underneath those bandages are going to be like the scars or the imprints of where the chains used to be. So I wonder if he'll take them off to sort of like explain because in the trailer it's explained that obviously his son doesn't know who Kratos is, like in terms of like who he was, I should say, or what his legacy is, or who the
mhm.
fact that obviously he's not a regular mortal man. So maybe it will be used as a way of explaining or something like that. But the combat looks really good, and it looks like it's got some kind of crafting as well, based on because you see a blacksmith working on Kratos is his axe, and it looks like there's different runes on the back of his on the
Yeah,
handle of the axe as well, and on the head of the axe. So I'm thinking there's probably going to be some type of upgrade system, I would imagine, because
prob
yeah,
maybe
I think so.
maybe maybe extra arrows or something like that, extra damage to the actual plates, like an in-game explanation of the upgrade system that it was in previous games,
Yeah,
probably.
maybe some kind of like elemental modifiers that you could add, fire, electricity. I think isn't the blade ice anyway? I'm sure it has like ice powers. In one of the trailers, he draws it and it kind of looks like it not freezes, but has some kind of like blue glow to it. And I think his son's bow has some kind of electrical ability as well, because I'm
I
sure in another trailer he fires the arrow and it has like an electrical impact to it.
Well,
So
it plays right with the Norse mythology because you have Thor, the god of thunder, and what was the ice? forget. Uh, but yeah, it ties well enough with the actual mythology. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
we went along enough with God of War. So let's move on to another story we got. Detroit Become Human. That's
Yes.
getting released in spring this year, which is odd. We haven't heard much of a release date. I haven't
Well,
heard anything.
recently there seems to be a lot of controversy around this game and its developer. Anyway, I mean, firstly we had that trailer that was shown, like the trailer with the girl and the android and the dad, and that stirred
Yeah.
up a lot of controversy. And then recently we've had like the allegations against Quantic Dream, such as like the workplace environment. So at
Yep.
the moment, this game seems to have a lot of negativity around it, but no one's really looking at the game itself.
Oh,
Really,
the
because
game
obviously,
itself. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
you were saying?
people aren't really focusing on the game itself rather than obviously like the controversies around it currently. But I don't really know what to say about Detroit. Really, I mean, I will play it absolutely, but I don't think this is going to be a day one buy for me. I didn't buy Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls immediately. I got them a little while later. But how about you though, Mako? What about you? Are you interested in this game?
I am buying it day one.
Okay,
I love the Quantic Dream games. I don't give a fuck what anyone says about them. I love the games, and I will buy it.
that's fine.
Wow.
Absolutely.
For me at least, I feel like the Quantic Dreams controversy doesn't mean much in the long run. But even still, I understand where the people are coming from. Now, when I see the game looks fun because you actually see like a Batman detective mode type of gameplay where some actions actually literally affect, and you can actually see each effect almost instantaneously, or
Mm.
maybe a bit later on. Because I'm not sure if you actually saw when they were showing it, but in one of the trailers, they were showing it with a live audience how they would react in the crime when there's like a detective trying to take like the android that's taking a hostage. You know that scenario.
Hmm.
That scenario that was played live, and people were making the choices, and you can actually see how many ways they actually interact. Like some options become negated and available when you do some certain actions, and even if you do the action you take something else with you, they negate that action. So it actually looks interesting because it not only gives but also removes. So I'm actually interested to see how this ties in to the whole story. But even still, I'm kind of cautious, so I'm not gonna buy it day one. But I'm interested to see how this ends up.
Well, it
So
would
yeah,
be nice if, yeah, I would. It would be good if like each sort of, it was like kind of like almost like a collection of like short stories that are kind of like related, or maybe has an overall kind of moral or meaning to it. Like obviously, it's set in the same time, the same fiction of future where there's androids and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be uh, I wouldn't enjoy it less if it was basically just like a bunch of small stories, like an anthology almost, for example, where here's a universe and here's like a bunch, like for example, something I've been watching recently on Netflix, like Black Mirror, is set roughly kind of in the same sort of fiction. A lot of the, or at least a lot of the stories share the same type of settings. So it would be interesting to see something like a bunch of what if stories within Detroit, but we don't know
I
yet. It
I
might
I
all,
have
it might all just be one big story.
I might feel like it's gonna be a whole big story like in Heavy Rain, but it's much more ambitious and actually well thought because in Heavy Rain you actually like feel like the some content was cut, but that doesn't stop the whole narrative.
Hmm.
It's just a minor nuisance in one of the chapters later on, but besides that, I feel like this is gonna be like a complete story from the ground up. And they say they have a lot of scripting done, I want to see that in action. I want to see what they actually do.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's about it on Quantic Dreams. Detroit Become Human.
All right. What's
Um,
next?
we got confirmation on a Resident Evil 2 remake, which is wow. I did not expect this. With apparently, it was like a leaked trailer and more gameplay details. I think.
Well, the Resident Evil 2 remake was announced quite ages ago. I think like maybe 2 years ago now. It was a project that was I can't remember all the details to it, but basically, oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, at Capcom, one of the developers he basically presented them with a project of like his Resident Evil 2 like as a remake, and basically they greenlit it. Like I'm really cutting this story down to the basics, and that's kind of like how it was greenlit. It was like we can do it, we can remake it, and it was almost like I think it either leaked or the guy kind of put it online or told people about it, and the interest that was generated on the internet gave Capcom the confidence to like greenlight the project. Anyway, there's been basically nothing on it until pretty recently. It is confirmed to be in development, but there's been a few leaks recently on some message boards that it may be like Resident Evil 4 style, sort of over the shoulder sort of camera. But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, we don't really have anything to go on. It was recently Resident Evil 2's 20th anniversary as well. I think it was early
Yep.
this week or late last week, but it was very recently. And yeah, people were actually expecting them to announce something. I mean, even the official Twitter account of Resident Evil changed their profile picture into it says Resident Evil now in the same old-fashioned font that used to be on the the
On the
original cover.
covers.
Yeah, the cover art of the original PlayStation games, the sort of thick, bold red lettering. But no, they didn't announce anything at all. It just came and went. So but
Yeah.
I'm really excited for it because Resident Evil 2 is my favorite Resident Evil game of the original trilogy, if you want to call it, of the original kind of era of
The
Resident
PS1.
Evil. Yeah, I really really like that game. Fantastic, where you can play as both
Uh,
Claire or Leon and disc A, disc B, scenario A, scenario B, just like slightly different stories from different perspectives. Really great game, and it'll be good to see it with a new lick of paint.
for me, it's like I am interested for a Resident Evil 2 remake because that game I think is the only one in three that don't have like a proper remake. So I'm interested to see. But I'm more interested to see like a Resident Evil 3 more than 2, but I understand if more people want to have this second game and in their collection for a remake on the PlayStation 4. Speaking of which, I'm interested to see if Capcom is trying to port like every single IP they have on the PS4 because we
Mm.
have like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 7. Can you confirm with me if 6 is in
Yeah.
that same list? Yeah,
Hmm.
6. And now you have 2 announced, so
Not to
can
mention, you've also got Resident Evil Revelations 2. We haven't got Resident Evil Revelations, the first one, on there though, unfortunately. But
oh
yeah, that's only on Switch and DS currently. Maybe a deal with Nintendo keeps it on that platform.
I'd wonder
Perhaps in the console space.
is Resident Evil 0 in that as well?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
that's
so
correct.
yeah, apparently Capcom is seeing like potential on the PS4, so that it's just pushing their IPs there. So
You
yeah,
know, I know this is like a more PlayStation orientated podcast, and I've said before, but come on, Capcom, please put Resident Evil 4 on the Switch. I would buy it if they put it on the Switch. It just fits. I feel I'd just love to sit there and casually play Resident Evil 4 when watching like Netflix or something. But you know,
yep.
they don't want the money. I'm willing to give them my money. Put
Come
Resident
on,
Evil 4 on the Switch, and I will buy it. I've owned it on PS2. I've owned it on PS3. I didn't get it on PS4. I mean, I've owned it multiple times. I will gladly buy it again if you put it on the Switch. But
yep.
that's
Okay.
just me.
But yeah, Mako, you got anything anything to input here, or
I don't like Resident Evil.
Okay.
What? No, we can't just move on. You've got to explain yourself.
oh no, okay.
Metal Gear Survive is better. Yeah.
Oh, you cheeky bum.
Well, I hope you enjoyed your last appearance on this podcast. What is it? What is it you don't like about Resident Evil? Not a fan of survival horror, just not on you, not really interested.
I've watched playthroughs of them all. They all seem like good games. I just hate horror in general. Like,
Ah,
I guess horror games I just can't play for the life of me.
big scaredy cat, huh?
Sure,
Yes.
let's go with that because I don't feel like explaining myself.
Okay, fair enough then. Okay, right then, move on. Next,
Okay.
next news topic.
Okay, so let's talk about South Park. So, you know how in the PS4 purchase of South Park, the Fractured But Whole, you get a free copy of Stick of Truth.
That
We
is
just got
correct.
announcement. Yeah, we just got announced that on January 31st, if you don't buy the PS4 version of a Fractured But Whole, you will not get the copy free on that point onwards because is South Park Stick of Truth is gonna get listed on the PS Store as a separate game that you can purchase. So that's always fun.
Rip. I need
Yep.
to get around to buying that, but money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I said butthole.
Well, anyway, well that makes me wonder about the physical versions of Fractured Butthole because that comes with an actual code in the
Uh,
box
apparently
on the
that
leaflet.
expires. That
Really?
expires.
So you could buy that after this month in a shop, sealed copy, and
Yep.
the code's expired.
Yep.
Most likely, because you know how PSN codes typically don't expire after that actual date.
I like to think that what they actually do is like they list the actual game and they re-add it again as a separate title so that the codes don't work anymore.
Well, I'd like to find confirmation of that actually before sure, but I mean, because it's on the box as well. It says like includes a copy of that, so the box would be wrong as well. So I'd have to
They could
make.
they could also do the following, which is to make a reprint version of Fractured Butthole that doesn't include that in the box. Or you
Hmm,
know,
that's
Who
yeah,
knows?
interesting.
Sony's probably going to be lazy and not do half of that anyways.
I might actually get Fractured Butthole just to get it, just to have
Well, it
another
seems
copy.
it'll be there. Oh, it says here as well in this Destructoid article that I've got up here. It says Ubisoft has confirmed to us that there will be a physical edition of Stick of Truth as well.
Will it be
Yeah.
now? My question is, how's the pricing gonna work?
Oh, well, it says here that it will be $30. So we're looking at sort of like not a high-end retail game, but sort of like the mid-range retail game, which I think is a little steep. I think, to be honest, but I guess if they're pushing for physical, they're going to need to make up the, going to need to make up the difference.
Yep. So I think that's everything we got to say on South of Truth. Then, Mako, you want to say something?
What I read said it was 20.
Oh,
Okay.
Or I think it was Best Buy. They had it pre-order up for 20. I'm not sure.
okay. Let me see. I can't see anything on the actual physical copy. But 20 sounds pretty decent for a last generation game that got free for a while. I mean, we'll see. We'll see after that develops a bit more. So, besides that, our next story of the day is regarding. Okay, so you know how Nintendo has amiibos?
Yes, indeed. We're well aware of that little craze that
Yes.
came up a few years ago.
Yeah. You know, PlayStation is trying to do the same, but it's
But not.
different. But
But not.
not. That's interesting because okay, so we got a message. I think it was like last week after recording. We got a message that apparently Sony is trying to make their own version of the amiibo called Totaku, which
Okay.
is that is a weird name for a product, but I understand what they're trying to do is trying to see if it fits. But
But they're not.
Totaku,
They don't have like the NFC chip or any game
no,
compatibility. They're basically just little figures of some
yeah,
well-known PlayStation game characters, aren't they?
yep, they're nothing less than just plastic toys that are gonna be sold at select retail shops. They're gonna be exclusive to, in North America at least, GameStop, which that means I will not be able to buy any of them. So yeah,
It's okay, I'll buy some for you.
From what I
come.
recall from a picture I've seen, it's like the Hunter from Bloodborne, the Parappa the Rapper, Crash Bandicoot. Who else? Who else?
The Pfizer
Um,
card from Wipeout.
yeah, is Sackboy one of them as well?
I think so. Let me look it up again. So no, I don't think we are gonna get any more characters after this first batch. I'll have to see. But people are saying like, can we just get a Cloud into this? But let me see. Okay, so it's Parappa the Rapper, Crash, Pfizer, the Pfizer ship,
Hmm.
Heihachi, the Hunter, and Parappa with Sackboy. Yeah.
So it just seems a bit pointless, really. And it's like they're amiibo like, but it seems quite late to try and capitalize on the amiibo, even though they're not toys to life. Trying to capitalize on that kind of Toys to Life thing, seeing as Toys to Life is pretty much dead now, except for amiibo. Um, I thought they'd just release them as like posable action figures rather than like these cheap little amiibo type things. But I guess
Yeah.
there must be a market to it. They must have done some research, and maybe they are trying to
I,
like
I
leech a
mean,
few sales from the amiibo uh, consumer base. I guess you could call it that.
I, I mean, I would as much as I would like a minifigure of Heihachi and Kratos. I don't know about you, but I like Wipeout. Don't get me wrong, but why would I want to buy a figure of a small ship from a game that almost nobody plays much? Like, why this? I would see that as a probably a another like season of it. As I don't know how you say it, like another yeah, I think it's like a season or something. How you say the other versions of the others? I mean, toys.
Waves.
The selection is kind of weird. Like I understand Parappa, Kratos, and stuff, but
Yeah, it
come
is
on.
kind of strange. A few of them, I mean, they're not really prominent like PlayStation. They're not like really too relevant anymore. Like Prepper Rapper, I know they like re-released or remastered the games, but I don't know. Crash Bandicoot, I suppose, I guess, but there's better Crash Bandicoot merchandise out there anyway. I mean, I have a statue of Crash Bandicoot that I got from I can't remember the
The
toys.
PVC statue.
Yeah,
Or
the Toys for something. The manufacturers, they make really nice game statues. They've got some really nice Breath of the Wild ones and a few other really. What's that? I think they've got an Okami one or something like that, or they have a
ooh,
Wind Waker one. They're really nice. They're quite high end. Obviously, they're more expensive than these amiibo type things, but I'm just saying there's better game merchandise out there if you look for it. Um, but I guess they're trying to like tap into this amiibo market. If they were successful, they may do more, but I really don't see these going anywhere, to be honest.
yeah. I seen like the what was it? Well, I gotta mention back again. I've seen a better statue of the actual Wipeout ship, the Pfizer ship,
Hmm.
with the collector's edition of the Wipeout Omega collection, which had a statue of one of the cars,
Yeah.
which was actually pretty cool.
Hmm.
So I don't feel like it's gonna be a rep off the amiibo. More likely, like they're trying to see if people can actually buy these minifigures for like pretty cheap, so they can make a small profit of it. Because
Maybe.
most of the PlayStation merchandise is mostly relegated to a bit costly, but I'm actually interested to see how they actually go.
Well, NECA do some really nice figures. I've got a NECA Uncharted 4 Nathan Drake. I've also got God of War 3 Kratos, as well as I've got the sniper from Killzone 3's multiplayer. NECA, NECA, do really good video game figures. I think I've got a Dead Space one. I've got an Isaac from Dead Space, Necromorph. They make really good video game figures. So, like, if you're willing to look outside of, like, I think they are also like officially licensed as well. So if you look around and search for NECA online, you can find loads of really cool video game figures which I've collected from all over the years. So there are places to look for them other than like PlayStation's official store. Usually that stuff's just all T-shirts and hats and these like the really expensive statues and stuff that you get. Like I think Journey had like a really expensive statue that you could get on PlayStation's official merchandise store. Those kind of things. Like if you're not looking for something as high end as that, there's always little action figures you can get. But anyway, we've talked about toys long enough. What's next?
Oh, come on. We're big boys. Let's talk about more toys. Okay, so let's talk about I think we got if we can squeeze this last one into this. So, we're going to mention something relegated to another platform, but it's just going to be in comparison with the actual PlayStation Plus. So, this is going to be interesting. Xbox from Microsoft, yes, of course. Has,
Hey, we'll
yeah,
have none of this on here. Okay, we're
no,
all friends.
civilized people. We're all civilized people here. Okay. So, they just announced that Xbox consoles are gonna get a something called the Xbox Game Pass. Now, what this is that you basically it's a mostly like a rental service. You can download and play whatever games you want from the selection of games they have in store. You can play as much as you like, and if your subscription dies or subsides, you can renew it, but you don't keep the games.
Yeah, so it's basically like PlayStation Plus, but in the sort of aspect that it's more like Netflix for games. They announced it a good couple of months ago, but what this story is here, which is interesting, is that going forwards, Microsoft Studio first-party games will be on the service from day one. So they will launch and they will be on part of this PlayStation Plus / Netflix for games style service that Xbox has. And the reason we bring this up as a news story on a sort of more PlayStation focused podcast is that this is interesting going forward for like the air quotations digital only future that people often talk about. One of the things that happened with this, for starters, a small retailer, I think it's a small Australian retailer, said they actually delisted selling Xbox One consoles on their store, in their stores, what have you, because retailers, they don't make almost any returns. In fact, they make a loss, I think, on shipping hardware. But it's the games, the physical games that they sell, is where they get a cut from it. But in this air quotation digital future that Microsoft is trying to, not necessarily laying down immediately, but with this option of a digital kind of service, is cutting retailers out. So it's going to be interesting because if you are a games manufacturer or platform manufacturer like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, you need to keep your retailers that ship your hardware, you need to keep them sweet. You start cutting out the big ones like Amazon, Walmart, or whatnot. If you start taking away the profits that they make on the games themselves, they're not going to stock your consoles anymore. So then how are you going to distribute your consoles to everyone on the planet? So if you're pissing off the big retailers, they're not going to help you out. So that's sort of why physical games sometimes also depending on your country or whatnot, but I find in my experience here in the UK, a lot of places that sell games generally are a couple of pounds cheaper than what they are on PSN at launch. So at PSN at launch, you'd get like FIFA, for example, or Call of Duty, for example. They're around like high end 50, maybe £60. Whilst in the shops, physical, you can get them if you shop around some of the big supermarket chains. You can get them between 45 up to 50. So they are a little cheaper physically. And this is to sort of encourage almost you to buy physical over digital, because Sony, Microsoft, what have you, they don't want to undercut the retailers. because you need to keep the retailer sweet to ship your hardware. So, with this in mind, it's an interesting move by Microsoft. I see what they're doing. They're doing a lot of this good faith stuff because of obviously the rocky road that the Xbox One has had since launch. It's good. It's great. Like if you're into this kind of thing, and it's basically like a beefed up PlayStation Plus. So it will have all new games on it straight away. And as Vex says, if your subscription lapses, you lose it, like you do with PlayStation Plus. So yeah, it's interesting.
My thing is that this is a mostly, for me at least, it feels like a mostly desperate attempt to actually cash in last point on the Xbox One as a platform, a viable platform, because I talked about this with a friend of mine. Um, this Xbox One doesn't have enough games to actually warrant a purchase, because he was debating whether or not to get the Xbox One because just to get the rare replay.
Mm-hmm.
And just one game isn't enough to warrant a purchase of a new console altogether.
Sure.
And we were talking about Xbox One exclusives, and we came to the conclusion that there aren't enough Xbox One games in order to warrant the actual system. Then you get introduced something like the Game Pass, which is mostly like, okay, now you can have all the games you want, but from our first party selection and 5 monthly rotating games that come and go, and you may or may not pop in anytime soon. Now the thing is, I don't know much about the service itself besides how much it costs. I think it's most of people are saying like $60 a month, 60 for 6 months. That's a lot for a service like this. I mean, the games and all the things. So
well, I'm if this was on PlayStation, it's probably not for me anyway, because I don't really buy AAA or anything at launch. Like I said, like a few topics ago, if I buy God of War on day one, that would be quite rare for me in terms of buying at launch. So something like paying for, I suppose it's quite. I pay for PlayStation Plus, but I don't really claim the games that often anyway. I just use it for the deals and the online if I need it. But yeah, I'm not sure. This is certainly interesting, but yeah, I don't have an Xbox, so I can't really say too much about it. I can't really say anything at all, really, because it doesn't affect me, but it does affect the market at large. Because how's Sony gonna retaliate to this? I wonder. What are they gonna beef up PlayStation Plus? I mean, they've already increased the price across the board, so I know it's all about server maintenance and server hosting and costs and blah blah blah, etc. etc. But I don't know. Competition is always good for us, the consumers. At the end of the day, between the two giants trying to outdo each other, it's only us, the consumer, that will win and benefit from it. So interesting to see.
I just wonder if Sony's gonna actually do something with the PS4 by adding more titles to the actual system. Like for example, add more PS2 the games to the lineup, please. Something of the sort. Something that keeps other people interested to the actual system. Because I know the first party games like Horizon Zero Dawn are actually pretty interesting to actually go and buy with the system.
Mm.
But I would actually like to see more backwards compatibility like Xbox is actually doing. Because sometimes I can't go and access a system that I want to go play it with. And PS Now is not a good I mean, it's not a great service unless you have a good internet connection, and even still, um,
Yeah,
I would
digital's not going to benefit everybody. Just
no.
generally speaking, because people that live in different regions, their internet service provider and whatnot, and how good their internet speed is in that region. Because I know a few people here in the UK who live out in the countryside, and it takes them like a whole day to download like a huge AAA game, or let alone like also all the patches that come out and the updates. So it's not viable for everyone. Physical will still be around for quite a long time, especially with what I highlighted about the retailers as well. So
If anything,
physical will be here.
if anything has taught me, I feel like more people are trying to figure out to port more digital games to the physical space. Like for example, games like Skullgirls, Fury, and among others have like limited run prints of each game like physical for people who like to have their copies like physical.
Mm.
And yeah, if people are willing to get digital only games physical, I don't expect anytime soon like this huge revolution that we just drop everything physical altogether. And the
Mm.
other point of contention is like you can actually take your collection, physical collection, maybe put it in a shelf, or probably so, most likely so, sell it on eBay or any other place for a quick buck. You know?
Mm.
Yeah,
It will
but
really. A digital future would also, completely wipe out the like high street retailers, brick and mortar retailers, but because there'd be no need to trade or to buy.
yep,
I mean, the big retailers like Amazon and all of that, they do. Obviously, you can sell your games back on Amazon again or on eBay, but the sort of trading in like a GameStop or over here it's Game, um, yeah, that kind of trading market will go. I mean, it's already sort of falling apart as it is. The way that digital sales have become larger and larger since the start towards the end of last generation and the beginning of this generation. Digital has become a lot more prominent in the way
yeah,
people get their games because
to the point.
the hardware is in place, isn't it? You with bigger hard drives now. People generally have faster internet. Generally speaking, the technology has got better for us to sort of use digital better than we did last generation when like PS3s and Xbox 360s were considerably slower than what we have today.
Yeah, even people on forums right now, they're actually like considering buying all the digital only games from the PlayStation 3 and cramming them all into the system as fast as they can because they have fears to figure out like the patterns that Sony normally does with uh the online services. Like after 10 plus years, they just shut it down. So people are like worried at the moment that maybe the PS3 is gonna shut down. I don't think so. It's gonna take a long time before we actually see anything related to the PS3 full shutdown of the online services.
If they're still making money out of it, they won't shut it down, basically, when it
Yeah,
comes down to it. All right, I think we've talked about news for long enough now, so I think we should move on, eh?
correct.
So, how about we move on to some tricky trophies? Now, tricky trophy segment is where we look back through our trophy collections at some of the most challenging, rage-inducing gameplay, or just plain boring, grinding sections of a game we've had to endure for a trophy. So, I tell you what, I will start off with this week's one, and this is
Okay.
from a game that I played. It must have been quite a while ago now, but it was on PS4, and I think I picked it up in a sale at the time. It's called White Knight, and it is a sort of, I guess you could call it survival horror, third person. It's kind of noir detective style. The art style is very distinctive. It's sort of like the best way I can describe it would be if anyone's seen the Sin City, that kind of graphic novel style, stark contrasting black and white sort of style. The game is like that. It's the game is just black and white, and it looks like a graphic novel. It's a really nice looking game. Um, but the basic premise is you're like I guess you're a detective, and you're in a car accident, and you go to a house nearby where your car crashed, and the house is haunted. There's like ghosts moving around the house, and if you touch the ghosts, you die. The aim, basically, everything is pitch black inside, and all you have is like a box of matches. You can find other matches and whatnot around the house. And you have to light or turn lamps on. The only way the ghosts can't get you is if you're standing in the light. So if you go into a room, it's pitch black. You can hear the ghosts. It's really quite a scary game. It's very atmospheric. The ghosts are horrible looking things. They're like kind of, they look like low resolution textures. You can't quite make out what they are. Like they're kind of like like a graphical glitch almost. You can't quite see if it's a person or a monster or some kind of creature. Anyway, so you go into a room, you have to turn like a desk lamp on, and you'll have like the circle on the floor of the desk lamp. And if you step outside of it, a ghost can get you. But if you can't, it can't come in and get you in the light. And the idea is you have to figure out this kind of like mystery that's going on, the reason this house is haunted. And he also has memory loss as well, so he doesn't know who he is as well from the car crash. So you have to figure out who you are.
Okay.
It's a pretty short game, but anyway, that's the premise of it. The tricky trophy in question, the game itself is not particularly hard if you use a guide, but the tricky trophy is around the clock. And the reason this is a tricky trophy is because it requires some work. This trophy only pops on a full moon in the real world, in our real
What?
time. Yes. So
What?
you have to go online. You have to find out a date. So obviously you're not going to wait for a full moon to get this trophy, because what you have to do is the requirements of this trophy is finish the game on a full moon day, read all the books and all the articles from the Boston Daily News, basically collectibles. So you have to get all the collectibles in the game whilst playing the game on the day an actual full moon is. So what you have to do is you have to go online, find out when there is a full moon, and adjust the internal system PS4 clock to that day and date, so the game thinks it's an actual full moon. Because in the game itself, the moon that you see through the windows or in the sky is actually the correct position of the moon in real world time as well. Because it's called white night. It's set at night, and like the moon is white and the sky is black. You know, it's all part of like the art style. So yeah, I had to find online when the next full moon is, and then adjust the clock in the system accordingly to the correct day when there is a full moon, and then play the game. The game's really short once you know what to do, so I managed to like smash through it quite quickly.
That is an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, I've never really experienced it. I mean, I know we have real life mechanics, real life time mechanics in games before. For example, like even going back to like Game Boy games, I remember it being nighttime on like Pokemon Gold and Silver. Like once it went past 6 o'clock in the evening, it would be nighttime, and you could catch nocturnal Pokemon. So using time as a mechanic is not new, but using a moon position is a new one to me.
The phases.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Moon phases. So yeah, phases of the moon. Interesting one. It's not a hard trophy, not even particularly tricky, but just noteworthy, like worthy of like saying this is an odd one. Luckily, the guide that I used actually provided a link to a moon phase website, so I could actually find the date, which was really helpful. So another shout out to PS Trophies forums, because those guys over there, fantastic. So yeah, that's my tricky trophy for this week. Mako, how about you? What's your tricky trophy?
Oh boy. I got monolithic achievement in.
Okay.
Is my mic working? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, Discord was being a little shit. Monolithic achievement in Danganronpa V3.
Okay.
I complained about this in one of the later episodes before, but basically it's a block matching, I think a 21 by 14. I don't know exactly, something like that. But basically, you have to almost clear the board, getting blocks behind the board, and it's very precise, and I hate it.
Is it some kind of mini game or something? I've never played Danganronpa at all, so I give me a bit of a description.
Yeah, it's a optional mini game, but you have to get an S rank for the trophy, which means you can either only miss, I think it's 3 fish and no of the little Monokumos, or you can miss 1 Monokuma and 1 fish, which doesn't sound that bad until you realize one little mistake can ruin an entire board for you like that. I think I got like 6 AAA ranks before I got my S rank.
Okay.
And like 10 hours of playing that minigame alone compared to like the not even 1 that it took me to get the other 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, Danganronpa V3 is, for anyone doesn't know, is a visual novel mystery murder game where students are pitted against each other um, kill one another in order to escape. So you kill a one of them kills a student, and you have to figure out the case of who done it. Otherwise, everyone gets executed except the person who committed the murder, and they walk scot free.
Yeah, I've had the game
So
recommended to me a few times, but it's not really my kind of thing. Like I know a lot of people really like those games. Do people really like the sort of visual novel style games on Vita anyway? But I've discussed many times that they're just not for me. But okay, fair enough then. Vec, what's yours then?
mine is from a racing game, from all things. It's Split Second. The trophy itself is called Beat the Team. Now, the trophy description is mostly like a time attack, mostly type of game, which is you have to beat a course in a certain amount of time. Now, the thing
Sounds
is,
fun.
yeah, it sounds fun. Now, the exciting thing is that the game provides a certain time for this one. So you have to play in a certain track called the construction site in a game mode called Detonator, which basically is that the track explodes around you and you have to dodge everything that goes around you. And you have to be quick about it because the only time that gives you is 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Oh man,
Now that
time based trophies or just time based time trials or whatever in games are just just give me a
Ooh,
headache. Absolute
yes.
rubbish.
Now you have to do this twice. There's two trophies called Beat the Team 1 and Part 2. Now, the second one is actually pretty easy compared to the first one if you want to believe that. The first one, you have to literally beat the game, beat that track in 1 minute and 7 seconds. Now, the closest I've ever been was 1 minute and 8 seconds,
Ooh.
and that is a close call. Now, the thing is, the trophy is infuriating because even if you actually reach the 1 minute and 7 second mark, the game also counts your milliseconds. And if your milliseconds are above the 1 minute and 7 seconds mark, that trophy is not popping up anytime soon. I realized this as I once happened to me. I reached 1 minute 7 seconds and 153 milliseconds. I was so pissed when I saw that on the actual logo, and I was like, okay, maybe it pops up anyways because it says 1 minute 7. It's like it doesn't pop. I have to do it again. And the thing is, the problem with the track is that you have to pick a fast car, but the problem is in the game, fast cars equals weaker to more resilient to more damage. Therefore, it crashes more often. And you have to do it in a clean sweep while driving a fast car, and everything is blowing up around you. So if you get hit once, you automatically have to restart again. Otherwise, it doesn't count because you have to pick up speed in order to actually achieve it. And driving around like 50 times around the track until it actually popped was a misery.
You
And
seem to
even
be a
looking
real
at the
glutton for punishment when it comes to trophy hunting. You every week I ask you, what's your tricky trophy, and you just tell me these stories of absolute misery.
Yes, because that's the only way you can actually see because these are painful. And I when I watched the trophy guide reached 1 minute and 6 seconds with one of the average scores. I mean, the lowest they could ever get was 1 minute and 5 seconds. So it's you have to pick the fastest option. Try not to drift a lot because if you drift, you lose a lot of speed, and at the same time, you lose a lot of time at the process. So you have to pick a car that not only fits the speed quota, but also doesn't have enough drift. And even if you pick like the fastest car, which is the elite cars, you can't even do that because that leaves you so fragile with the cars themselves. And even picking the shortcut, you have to make sure that it doesn't make it like 33 seconds Otherwise, you have to make it another more because if you don't make you don't make that jump in like a minute and 33 seconds, then you have to restart because otherwise it will be a waste of time. Like you had to like pinpoint which is the best time to actually jump, and I figured it out. It's like if it's like 31 seconds and you jump on the shortcut, you're golden for the rest of the track if you don't fuck up. And that is if you don't fuck up. My suggestion, if anyone's gonna try this,
Don't.
no, not this. No, it is doable, just very difficult. My recommendation is whenever you see like try to learn where the traps are. Try not to get like the blast like each time like an explosion happens. Like the shock wave also affects your speed, so you have to be wary of where the explosion is happening so that you don't get hit by the shock wave, or sometimes use the shock wave to propulse yourself even further, which you can do that. uh, and also try not to be cocky when the explosion happens and you see like the car like going on top and you think you can go down. No, the hitbox doesn't work like that. You will get crushed. Believe me, I tried.
You know,
So
those who listen to us who are also on the Discord server will know we have an easy platinum section where any of us can post like the easiest, quickest, easy peasy platinums to boost your collection. Now, I'm proposing that we have a room called Avoid These Platinums, and it should just be all the games that Vec plays, because every time he comes on here, he just tells us these games that sound absolutely awful to play, and he says, "Oh, I recommend it," or "It's doable," but no, I have literally no interest in playing any of these games. They just
no,
sound awful.
that is like the pride. Like say that you actually did it. That's enough for me to go on and do it. Anyways.
Well, not for me. All right, that brings us to the end of the tricky trophy section, and I'm thinking you could probably wrap up there, guys. What do you think?
I think we don't have any Discord updates, do we?
I don't think so. I've
No.
not mentioned anything. Anything, Mako?
Besides the
Yeah, become a weeb and join the anime section, please. I'm lonely.
yes, we have a yeah. Oh yeah, we do actually have a room. It's the challenge room. Does
Okay.
do yeah, we actually do. It's like we need to promote that even more. So yes, we have a. If you played a lot of games and you have a game that nobody knows, you can put it on the hidden gems. You can put it on the easy platinum support using the challenge room. So you can actually check it out. So that's always fun. Also, healthy recommendation: post your trophies of January. We're gonna finish the actual uh, leaderboards this week. So, when's the 31st? This week or next week? Oh, next week on
Sometime.
Wednesday. So yes, remember to update because we update every single. I think like every single week we update at least a bit. So that's always fun. Um, Also, oh yes, we have to mention it. I posted a mega screenshot album. If anyone wants to check it out, it's a album of all the screenshots that everyone has posted on the hashtag game screenshots of the year 2017 of everything we have played. So if you have a screenshot and want to share it, you can actually post it on hashtag game screenshots, and we'll add it to the mega album of 2018. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, fair enough then. All right, then it's time for wrap up. So let's find out where we can find each of us. Mako, what's your social media presence? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at SHSI made.
Okay,
know, it's
and
hard.
also you are very active on our Discord server too. Always see you around.
Yes.
Yeah, Vec, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at DVictronic.
You can find me
Now,
on Twitter at ThatAzil. Is there anything you
yes,
wanted to add, Vec?
I think that every one of us can be searched upon on the PlayStation Trophy servers. We'll post the link in every single description on the show on the podcast itself, so you can always check that out. We're always happy to see more trophy hunters here.
Yes,
Besides that, we also record a podcast every Friday, so come and join us live. You want to see it a few days before it actually airs, so it's always fun. Lastly,
absolutely.
lastly, we have a Patreon to support like these costs on the for the actual uploads on the for iTunes on SoundCloud. So yeah, if you want to support us over there, we are strictly non-profit, so you can support us there. So yeah,
Yep,
is it?
awesome.
Yep.
So thanks everyone for listening. As always, you can find our episodes on our YouTube channel, The Trophy Trust. You can support us there by subscribing, and you'll see all of our future episodes on there. You can also find any updates about the podcast on our joint at the Trophy Trust Twitter account. And as Vec just mentioned, you can support us on our Patreon as well for as little as $1 a month, because we're non-profit, but we have to pay for the server hosting costs anyway. But thank you very much for listening. Hope you all have a good week, and keep on trophy hunting. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.